What is up, everybody? We are back with another video. This week we have the Osage Grand Prix. This is the category 345, I believe. This was from a week and a half or so ago. Really fun race. It's going to be more of a circuit style road race. Right now we're just on the neutral rollout, about to come through the start finish, it looks like, and actually get things kicked off. But with that said, let's just jump into kind of the race stats for the race today. This race was just over an hour, and distance-wise, we ended up doing 25.2 miles. Average speed was 24.1. For the race, I averaged 275 watts and normalized 335. Like I said, this was a fun circuit-style road race. Had a great time doing it. This was my first time making it up to Tulsa for this race. I was racing actually with Dorian this night. Ramiro was supposed to make it up, but had some work obligations that came up last minute, wasn't able to make it, so it was just the two of us with Ampersand Racing. When it comes to kind of the other teams this week, we had Cura. They're always going to be a strong team. They got quite a few riders. I think they had 3 in this field. And then the other kind of prominent team was going to be James Deli. I think they just had tons of numbers, so I wasn't too sure with what these teams were all about. I've raced with a few of the Cura guys last year. Know they're strong, but I didn't know too much about the James Deli team. Outside of that, there are a few other like singles and doubles I knew to keep an eye on, but wasn't paying too much attention to, just because I felt like me and Dorian had a pretty good game plan going into it. I will say, you'll notice we're doing 17 miles per hour right now, doing almost 400 watts, and just getting slower. This was into probably a 20-mile-an-hour headwind and gusts of almost 35 to 40 miles per hour. So pretty windy day. This one right here, like I said, was mostly a headwind. It might have been somewhat slightly off the right as well, but mostly headwind. So this straight, super slow. On the backside, there's that straight right before the finishing. It was quite spicy. Not spicy, but speeds definitely were up there. Some things to note, there was one little kicker on the course. Once we get to that, I'll kind of point that out. That was, if you're going to attack, kind of the ideal spot to do it. And we did end up seeing a few people attempt to go there, but like every 3-4 race, no one's really going to get away. Everyone's too motivated to try to win, so they're going to chase back every little thing they can. And that's kind of how this ended up playing out. So I'm going to kind of just let the recording play out, and when it gets to more interesting parts of the video, I'll stop and kind of talk over them. Okay, here we are about 5 minutes or so into the race, right on lap 1, and coming up you have a little right-hander here, and this is going to be the kind of main feature for the course in terms of attacking and stuff like that. As soon as you take this right, it is just a slight little kicker, probably 3-4% at most, if I was to guess. I never really looked at my head unit or like the post-ride stats to see what it actually was, but it was just enough of an incline to hurt if someone was to try to attack and get away here. And from what I've heard in the past, this is kind of the spot everybody has attacked and got something to stick if they have gotten something to stick. So this is just the first time through for everybody. No one ends up really sending a flyer up the road on this lap. Everyone's still just kind of filling it out, see where everybody else is at, and just trying to make it through lap 1 and see where we're at from there. So here we are, almost 15 minutes into the race, just came through the start finish for lap 2, and we are in the straight headwind section. Being in the straight headwind section, the pace had started to dialed back a bit, and I knew I wanted to keep it a little higher than that, so I'm going to start to find my way toward the front to keep the pace just a little bit higher, try to make it hurt for anyone behind me, that way keep the pace up there but not blow myself up. So naturally I just kind of head toward the front and end up finding myself on the front. In this race, I definitely find myself on the front more than I probably would have liked to have seen. But during the time of the race, I was willing to do the work, so can't complain too much there. But at the start of the race, me and Dorian had kind of talked, and we knew that the other feature would be a big attacking spot, and we wanted to see if we could figure out somewhere else that we could catch people off guard. And we figured right here at the end of the headwind section, if we get someone up the road, it might be able to stick, as soon as you turn right, the pace can be pretty quick because you do get somewhat of a slight tailwind effect. Plus, it's a quick narrowing or winding road. So if you were able to get enough of a gap and get the pace up pretty quickly, you could have potentially seen someone kind of disappear behind the winding roads and then kind of be out of sight, out of mind. And so that was kind of the goal with this attack that we had talked about. And so he sent it up the road, and naturally, like all 3-4 races tend to go, and like I alluded to earlier, everyone's willing to chase everything back. So 4 people end up chasing him back, and then the whole field comes with him. So I just kind of hop back in and get going. And see here, you can see where I mentioned like you can get your speed up pretty quick, already doing 30 miles per hour, and just kind of cruising at this point. But yeah, I'll fast forward and get to some more interesting spots. So here we are on lap 3, coming into that spot where little riser. Dorian's on the front, and we have the 3 Cura guys between me and him. And on cue, Adam with Cura, I believe that is, attacks, and the guy on him hits that cone there in the road. So props to him not going down. Not sure how he hit the cone. It was there every lap, but yeah, Adam starts to get away and puts a little bit of a hurt on me and Dorian. Dorian is going to just get it over this hill, and then I will kind of pull through, and we are going to just kind of work to not let Adam get too far away. He definitely has the power. He's strong enough to make it stick to the line if he wants. And so knowing that, we wanted to make sure we didn't give him too much of a gap and tried to get him brought back as quick as possible. So and here you'll see Dorian, he starts to got a slight recovery there on that downhill, and then he starts to pick up the pace to bring Adam back. There's a few other little kickers right before we get to that backside tailwind section, and so it hurts, but it's definitely a spot that is pivotal on the course, and we wanted to make sure he didn't get too far up the road. As you can see, he's starting to make up some distance. I start to just kind of slot back in, get some rest, as I'd been on the front for just a bit, and Dorian ends up, I believe, catching him either in the tailwind section or right before the tailwind section to kind of patch things up, and then we all end up kind of getting brought back into one group soon after that. So here we are on lap 505, just came through the start-finish line, and you're going to see some team dynamics starting to get played a little bit more so than they already have. But coming into the headwind section, you'll see a guy with Jane's Deli decides to attack up the right side and try to get something to stick through this headwind section. This guy looks like he's going to go with him, but he quickly decides to not jump on that wheel for whatever reason. Not sure if they're friends or anything. Like I said, I don't know too many of these Tulsa guys yet. A lot of these guys, it's some of my first races against them, so not sure why he decided to set up. Looked like he definitely had the legs to just hop on that wheel and get a free ride, but he decided what was best for him at the time, I believe. So after that, you'll see myself, I start to pull through, and not quite chasing him yet. I'm not too worried about a single rider with 1 lap to go, especially with how motivated everyone's been throughout the whole race. But you'll find me, and then I believe one of the Cura guys also pulls through, and we just kind of keep him at a certain distance. We never fully chased him back to bring him back. We just kind of let him set there in no man's land. At least that's my goal when I was on the front, was to keep him close enough to where one little effort, you're right back on his wheel, but keep him far enough to wait to where if someone wanted to attack over the top, they know they're having to spend a bullet to get on his wheel. And I think that played out. Like I said, James Deli, I believe they had the most people in the field, so none of their team is going to chase him back. Tentatively, obviously. Ideally, they shouldn't, but none of them end up doing it anyway. But none of them were going to chase him back. And then me and Dorian weren't too worried, and I believe the Kira guys even in the race said, don't worry about it, we'll bring him back easily. So most of the people that I had my eye on, I believed weren't going to be the ones to pull him back, so we just kind of let him sit there for about half a lap, I believe. So fast forwarding just a few minutes into the little kicker on the course, you can see he's still just within reach, just kind of trucking along. And I believe this is where we end up bringing him back. As we take this right-hander, you'll see, I think it's Adam again, might have been Matt. I guess we'll see here in just a second, with Kira that pulls through and starts to put in a little bit of an effort. And I was quick to hop on that, and I believe one of the guys from Tulsa Wheelman, or no, the guy in the burgundy shorts was on his wheel, and then I come around the right side and hop on his wheel pretty quick to go over these few little kickers. But he definitely put a hurting in here. I was pretty close to my limits at this point. Like I said, I spent a little bit too much time on the front for this race, but find myself just making it onto the back of their wheels, and they checked back a few times to see who's all there, and they noticed there's two people there, or Adam did, and so they didn't put in another effort. I wasn't going to pull through at this point because for me, the most ideal scenario at the end of the race is going to be a sprint, so I've kind of done with pulling through for the most part. He tries to get him to pull through, he doesn't, and like I said, I'm not going to at this point. I'm just going to make sure to cover attacks, stuff like that. Any that try to get up the road, but I believe he checks back here just one more time and gives it another little kick, and he's checks to see if we both came with him, and we did. And from there, I believe we both all just kind of sat up and let the field come back to us. At that point, none of us, we knew we weren't going to get away with less than half a lap to go, so we all just kind of coast and let the group catch back up. And then Dorian sends a small attack in with, I believe that's a Centier guy. Adam hops on his wheel. A Tulsa Wheelman guy comes through and kind of patches things up. And then I believe that's Alberto with 918. He's a pretty strong kid. Don't know him all that well, but raced with him quite a few times. He comes through as well. And at this point, I know Dorian's up the road, or not up the road, but Dorian's prepared to cover any attacks that get through on the tailwind section, but it also is a tailwind section, so anyone who tries to attack, it's not too hard to cover it. So I just kind of coast for a bit and soft pedal through this tailwind section to get ready for a hopeful group sprint. But in doing so, saw a few little breaks here, and so I believe Dorian and the Centier guy and Adam, they get a small gap here, and they give it a little bit of the beans, maybe, and start to create separation. Being Dorian's in that group, I'm not worried about chasing it back. I could trust in Dorian, and so he looks back for someone to pull through, and I'm like, sorry, I'm not doing that. And then two Tulsa women guys come around our left side, and like your normal Cat 3-4-5 race, everything just gets kind of patched up. People are willing to chase back at this point. I mean, you have less than probably a mile left till the finish line. So we all just kind of get on the gas a little bit, nothing too crazy. Like I said, this is a tailwind section, so it doesn't take much to cover any kind of attack and get ready for the sprint. So here we are on lap 5 of 5, coming into the final turn for the start-finish straight. You have maybe 0.7 to at most maybe a mile long straight I'm not honestly that sure. Like I said, this was my first time in the race, but everything's been patched together. Not sure what that guy was doing with his hands off his bars. Pretty sure you can also hear me in the background saying something along the lines of keep your hands on your bars. Personal opinion, you should never take your hands off your bars, but who am I to say? I'm a Cat 3. I've only been racing for a year and a half or two. But this is at the point in the race where it's kind of pivotal to what wheels you follow and what moves you make. There is a double yellow line rule, so you're not supposed to pass over those yellow lines, or technically you'll be DQ'd. So I'm just sitting and waiting for a window to open up and hopes to make up a few wheels. It's starting to get swarmed, so just praying something opens up, getting a little frustrated because it just seems like nothing will open up. But eventually I start to find a few wheels and it looks like shows promise, and then I kind of gets closed down. Kind of try the right side to see if I can get something there. Nothing really works there. Find my way back to the left. Looked like there was going to be a window opened up for a second, and so tried to take it, but that got shut down pretty quick. So I head back toward the right side of the group and hopes to find some opening that will lead me to a good sprint. So I start to filter over. Pace is getting pretty spicy, 31, not doing too much work. And then everyone just jolts to the right. At this point, I'm like, that was the move I needed to make, was to be up there on the left side and make it, and it just wasn't there. And then all of a sudden, the whole road just opens up. He holds off to the right. I think he was kind of done, and I just completely send it. Not sure how far we have, but pop off. I think it hit like 1100 there just a second ago, maybe. And then just full send all the way to the line. Like I said, legs are feeling pretty good, and not sure what the gap was, but was able to send it from a decent ways out and take first. So overall, really fun race. Really enjoyed this race. Highly recommend anybody in the Tulsa area to go check it out. I know I won't be able to make it to their second race, which the day I upload this, I think it is tomorrow. But highly recommend it. I think they have one more for the year, and it is a yearly thing, so I'm definitely planning on hitting up this race a lot more. Met quite a few people. The Cura guys were super awesome to race with. Didn't get to talk to many of the other guys, but appreciate everybody watching. Feel free to like and subscribe.